Well, hello everybody and welcome back to our 4-part video series on scaling your practice online. And so what we've been doing over the course of this 4-part video series is really laying the groundwork for creating a kick-ass online course to start scaling your practice fast. Now, before we dive into today's topic, I really want to take a look at our journey so far. So in our first video, we expanded your vision of success by writing out a day in the life of your most successful self and really feeling into that vision. Second, we talked about when you have a ton of ideas, but it tends to kind of fizzle out, and the 3 things that you can do when that happens. Thirdly, we explored 4 must-haves in a successful sellable course. And today we're going to talk about 2 ways to scale your practice successfully without having to rely on Salesy Gimmicks. And to my mind, that is through live online group coaching programs and automated passive income funnels. Now, in the online world, these are understood to be 2 types of what are called sales funnels. And they are really how to bridge the gap between building a badass course and actually getting people to engage with it and with you. So these funnels are really essential because putting in the work to create something beautiful and actually sparking engagement, let alone getting people to spend money with you, are really 2 separate things. So you can build a great course, and that's going to build trust and fidelity with your soul clients. It also builds credibility while sending out your most authentic message, yes. But sometimes it can feel a little bit like designing the most perfect billboard in the middle of nowhere. So you want to think about how are you going to get people to stop and look up at it, let alone be willing to open up their wallets and hand over some cold hard cash. Now, I want you to remember that oftentimes it's not that we have to convince people of the value of what it is you have to offer. We don't necessarily even have to convince them that that's what they need. But more often than not, we really have to convince people to value what they need, right? They have to value what they need. And then they have to prioritize it. And that's not always an easy thing to convince people to do, right? And if you don't believe me, just think about how often you deprioritize your own needs for what you think is more important outside of yourself, right? Or more important to somebody else's satisfaction and happiness. And we do this when it comes to our careers and our practices, yes, but we also tend to do this in our private lives, don't we? And whatever motivates you privately, whatever inspires you, is ultimately what is going to ring through in your authentic marketing, which is the essence of your mission statement, okay? It's why you do what you do. Now, research tells us that most people have to have at least 15 to 18 contacts with you before they develop what's called that know, like, and trust factor for you. So how do you get that contact with them? How do you get contact with lots of them? Well, the answer is through these kinds of sales funnels. And to my mind, it really doesn't matter what your end product is, right? Whether it is you want to meet with more people in private one-to-one sessions, whether you want to collect a bunch of people for a workshop or maybe for a retreat or something like that. To my mind, what you really want to do is you want to develop that sense of comfort and trust with you. And ultimately, if you can create more contacts like that, then they're going to want to do whatever it is you want them to do. It could include also purchasing self-directed content through an automated sales funnel. Okay. And this is not because you're trying to get them to do something that, you know, they wouldn't do otherwise, because when they invest in you, the goal is that they're also investing in themselves, right? And so when you market yourself from that kind of an authentic place, which means that you are offering someone something that stems from your own personal mission, you're just being yourself. Only you're doing it with an amplifier strapped to your back and a microphone in your hand, right? And so learning how to be okay with that and to utilize it to your advantage is really to first start believing that A, you have something of value worth saying, and B, and usually this is the harder part, believing that you yourself are of value and that anyone would gain something of value simply by knowing you and, for example, participating in your online communities and in your sales funnels. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the 2 different types of sales funnels and how they work, at this point I'm going to dive into how I have used them and implemented them. And I do this primarily from a hybridization of the 2. So just to give you an example, when I started out, I started doing more or less passive income funnels. So basically created self-directed content, and I would put it up and try to market it through my email list. I did not have a sales funnel, so as you can imagine, it didn't go so well. My school, I call it my online school, but basically my membership site was sort of a graveyard, to be honest with you. And then I decided to invest real money into real business coaching instead of all the freebies that I had been consuming. And that was when I started to see a real change in my income, okay? And that was really when I started to grow my list as well. So at that point, I also started implementing live online group coaching programs. And one thing that I found is that live online group coaching programs, you can charge more for it because you're sharing your time and your expertise, right? And so there's actually a shorter return on your investment, which is to say that because you're charging more and you're using more of your time, you see that money quicker, and then you can invest that money into your passive income funnels, which take longer, in my experience, to start generating revenue, but once they do, it's much more hands-off. You don't have to be as engaged with it, right? So, and or you can start to use them, and this is also how I've been doing it. I've started implementing them as a product ladder. So now let's say that the ultimate goal is for you to offer, you're interested in doing retreats, like your annual retreats, right? So let's say you come up with some kind of freebie offer. In my program, I offer something called 4 Phases of the Romantic Journey. So my specialization is in love and intimacy and relationship. And in particular, I look at love addiction and love avoidance. And I look at it through the frame of attachment theory and mindfulness and creative arts therapies approaches. So I have a live online group coaching program, which is my higher ticket item. It's a 6-month coaching program. There's 12 live group coaching calls involved, and then there's 6 didactic lessons in between the calls, which consist of didactic lecture, arts-based video tutorial, worksheets and handouts, which is all to be completed as homework assignments between the calls. And then everybody gets access to the replays, right? All 12 replays, private access. Now, because I keep that group small, a maximum of 20 people are allowed in that group, I charge a higher ticket for that item. They get a lot more concentrated, personalized attention and energy from me. So that's like my highest item on my product ladder, okay? Down the road, it might be a retreat or a workshop or something like that, a more in-person event. But at this time, that's like my highest product on my ladder. Now, how do I screen people for that? Because I also want to know that people in that group are really committed to their transformational processes, right? So I am going to market that to people who've already been through some kind of screening process, which is to say that they've consumed like a lower level of my content that is like the foundation of what it is I want them to know and understand before they can dive into that deeper work that I want to do with them, okay? So at that level, this is kind of like a mid-level course, like mid-level, you might think of it as an opt-in or a tripwire offer or something like that. But at that level, I have something called Healing Attachment Wounds, and that's a 7-week self-directed course that offers creative, fun, easy lessons to help people go from feeling lost and confused about their love lives to being much more of a conscious creator in their life and feeling self-sovereign, right? They're working towards a sense of earned security. And so I talk about those things in the context of love addiction and love avoidance. Now, I tend to think of love avoidance and love addiction as both expressions of love addiction, and those are things I talk about in my online communities. And so I talk about those things very freely. That's free content I give away. I do 1 or 2 videos a week, and I post them to YouTube and in my private Facebook communities, so people are able to develop that know, like, and trust factor with me. So they watch enough of my videos, and then they decide, well, hey, I like a lot of what she's saying. I may be willing now at this point to invest in one of her online programs, right? And then they get into an online program with me, and then maybe they decide, oh, I want to talk to her personally because I've done some of the work that she's been recommending, and I want to have a one-to-one consultation with her. So then maybe they book a one-to-one consultation with me, and I charge a certain amount of money for that, right? Now, maybe they consume that, and then they're like, wow, but I really want to deepen this work, and I want to connect with other people who are on the same level so I don't feel so alone in this process. And now they join my 6-month group coaching program, right? But you see that, like, the way that a lot of therapists, coaches, and healers have their businesses set up is there's no ladder, right? It's all or nothing, in or out. They have to commit to long-term therapy or they don't get anything, right? And so if you can find a way to kind of expand your reach, expand your message, use these 2 different types of sales funnels to make contact with people that can benefit from what you have to offer, whether it's the freebie you're giving out, whether it's the mid-level offer you're sending out to them, or whether it's a high-end, coaching program that you want to offer. You are being generous with yourself. You are being generous with yourself. And remember, when someone's willing to put their money where their mouth is, you know that they're much more invested in those transformational processes that you're interested in affecting for people, right? Because all of us come to this knowing that there's something deep within us that really believes that we can facilitate and help people find their way, right? And most likely we come to this because we've experienced that from someone else, right? Someone else or some other thing that you've studied has afforded that facilitation for you, and you want to pay it forward. I really believe that's just an element of our essential human nature. And so this is really a way that if you can be clear on your mission and your authentic marketing and really putting yourself out and just being yourself, then selling is not just about gimmicks. Selling becomes a soulful art. It really becomes a soulful art. And when people spend money with you, they're not just spending money with you. They're not just giving you money. They're investing in themselves. And that's especially true for therapists, coaches, and healers, right? I don't need to explain that. And that's my mission. And so for me, I want to facilitate this for other therapists, coaches, and healers so that they can expand their message and do good work. Because to my mind, when we really get down to it, that's the essence of how we heal the world. It's from the inside out, right? It's not necessarily about changing the external conditions. As is within, so is without. And so if we can first affect radical change in the inner space of the people that engage with our communities, that's when we start to see a real shift in the world around us. Okay. So I hope that helps explain a bit about the two sales funnels. Now, if you find at this point that you are still kind of struggling with, well, I like this idea, the idea of creating an online course appeals to me, but I'm still kind of struggling with what I would really want to focus on, okay? Or maybe you feel like, well, I'm feeling a little bit unsure of my level of expertise, or you're not sure how to structure something in such a way that it affords that transformational process, or you doubt that you're able to communicate the true value of what you have to offer effectively, or you think that your work is intuitive and you could never break it down into a series of steps, right? Or you feel like you would need help with that, okay? If any of those things resonate for you or feel true for you, I'd invite you to sign up for our free Badass Course Creation 5-Day Challenge. And that's starting on Monday, September 24th. There's a registration link in the caption of this film. And if you do decide that you'd like to join us for this challenge, you're going to walk away with a few really amazing things. So the first thing is that schedule to ground you in that abundant vibe, right? And start reverse engineering your dreams. We're going to talk about building out a money mindset practice that you can use every day to start to shift your thoughts and your feelings around money. You're going to be doing some market research to help you position your online course in your niche. We're going to look at a 4-phase stage theory, and you are going to develop your own to contextualize your content for your soul clients. There will be a comprehensive overview of sales funnels, much more so, and how they work. And there will also be a training on how to develop your curriculum and a 1-page pitch for your course. I'm also going to do a live Q&A, okay? And if you do join the Badass Course Creation Challenge, there's going to be a bonus offer for you on the last day, which pertains to how you can work more closely with me and building out your practice. So if you're in private practice and you feel like you want to bust through that one-to-one business model, or maybe you're starting out and you're overwhelmed by the cost of renting space or trying to establish referral networks, or maybe you're just struggling with how to market yourself effectively, maybe you've been working in the field and you're kind of tired of the bureaucratic nonsense that tends to hinder your ability to do your job effectively, let alone with a little bit of pleasure. Or maybe you're just interested in working with soul clients and you're eager and dedicated to finding clients that are ready to step up for their own transformational processes. And lastly, maybe if you're just craving a creative outlet and an opportunity to share your own authentic message while bringing in some passive income, then this challenge is really perfect for you, and you're going to want to show up for it, okay? So if anything I've talked about in this 4-part video series has resonated for you, you definitely want to join us for our challenge next week. We're going to show up every day live with new rich content. I invite you to really dedicate yourself to this and to see if you could make a go of it, because I'm telling you, the possibilities are endless. You know, I started doing this in all earnest in January of 2017. We're rounding out the end of 2018, or we're coming up on the fall of 2018. And I went from like praying that I make $500 a month from what it is that I was doing to now bringing in up to $10K per month in online revenue. It has completely changed the quality of my life. It has completely changed the way I think about, see, and move through the world, about the way that I think about myself and my own profession, and the dreams that I have for the expansion of what I can do during my time here on Earth. So I feel so compelled to share that with this community, and I hope that you'll show up for this, because I want you to just kind of get a taste of what that might feel like for you. So if you do sign up, 100% you will be so glad you did. And I look forward to seeing you there on Monday.